So podcasting is about to explode in a very major way. And those that take advantage of the changes that are happening now and that are going to happen next year are going to be able to grow shows very, very quickly. And that's what we're going to cover in this video or this episode is walk through the three major things that podcasters that grow really fast will be taking advantage of. So if you're thinking of starting a show or if you already have a show, here's how you can get it growing and growing very quickly. So the inspiration for this episode was a bunch of the major changes that big platforms have been making. In case you missed it, Spotify just released a major announcement of their changes for how they're going to approach podcasting. And they changed what was previously called Spotify for podcasters and made it Spotify for creators. And this change was massive because now they're pushing video-based content from podcasts like crazy, both with the full-length episodes as well as clips. So like social media clips that you'd see on TikTok or Instagram, those are now going to be able to be published from podcasters on Spotify that Spotify will be pushing to its millions of users organically. So between that and then YouTube doubling down on their investment and approach to being a podcasting platform, it's never been better to be a podcaster because these platforms that are spending so much money are finally solving the biggest problem that was there with podcasts, which was growth. So it's never been better to be a podcaster and you can grow faster than ever before. There's three main drivers that are going to make it possible for you to grow way faster. And if you don't do these things, you're going to fall behind your competition because somebody will do these things and they will capture up market share. They'll get all the eyeballs within your niche and they will win. The first one is just simply doing video. If you are not doing video for your podcast yet, you need to wake up and start filming. It doesn't need to cost you a lot of money and it doesn't need to be super complicated, but you do need video. I don't even care what kind of podcast that you're making. Having some sort of video element is going to allow you to grow so much faster and take advantage of YouTube and Spotify in particular, but even other social media platforms. Without video, you can't grow a show. It is so difficult to do. So video needs to be an absolute priority. You can't really do just audio anymore. It's so much harder. It's so much harder. So with Spotify changing to Spotify for creators, that should be your push to finally jump in. If you don't have video, start today and start filming your content. You don't need anything too crazy or expensive. Film with what you have. If you have a relatively new smartphone, start filming with that to begin with. You already have all the equipment for audio since you're running your show. So start filming it. Turn the camera on. If you're doing solo episodes, record it in some screen recording software or like I'm using right now. I'm using Descript. Use something like this or use Riverside. You don't need to spend a ton of money on equipment. You need something to record high quality video and then a light source, whether it be a window or an actual light like I'm using right here. If you want some of our gear recommendations, we've linked our gear cheat sheet down below in the description that you can go check out completely for free. We've got our favorite tools and resources there at a variety of different price points, but you need to be filming your podcast. Spotify made the major change, but so too did YouTube. YouTube has continued to say they're invested in podcasting because so many people are consuming podcasts on YouTube. Not only are people spending hours consuming full-length episodes on YouTube, but they're also finding new podcasts through clips, the shorter pieces of content that people are willing to watch from someone they've never seen before. That's how so many podcasts are growing right now, is that people are watching a clip because they're willing to invest 6 minutes for someone they don't know, when they wouldn't be willing to invest 2 hours. But they consume enough of those 6-minute clips that they find themselves just listening to the full-length episode anyways because they want to. So that's really the biggest thing, is that if you don't have video, you can't take advantage of those growth opportunities. And that's the kind of stuff that we talk about here with every single video here at Podcast Nut and on this podcast, the podcast playbook, and as well as over on our free newsletter. This is the stuff we're talking about every single day. And these are the kind of things that we're doing for our podcasting clients within our agency. Content is king, especially when it comes to video content for your podcast. So if you're not filming your podcast, make today the day that changes. The next major driver of growth is going to come from having content, but the ones that will win at a massively disproportionate level will be the ones that are investing into platform optimized content. So not just simply posting a video to all places, but restructuring each video to perform on the specific platform that you're posting. There's tiers of people who are having different levels of success. The podcasters that don't have video, they're missing out massively. The podcasters that have video are winning slightly more, but the podcasters that are actually doing video and spending the time to do each platform correctly are winning so much more. I'm going to give you an easy to follow example. Go look at the Diary of a CEO. He's an example I give all the time because they're spending more money than anyone running tests to figure out what works and how to grow a show. So all you have to do is go study them and you'll learn so many things. So for their show, they are doing the full length episodes on YouTube, Spotify, but they're also testing a ton of different titles and thumbnails for each to figure out the best way to frame that episode. That's what I mean by platform optimized content. So it's not just posting a YouTube video and thinking you're done. It's spending the time in the areas that have the highest leverage to get the results that you want on each platform. It is no longer acceptable, if you want crazy results, to just post the same video on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok and expect it to work. You need to optimize the content to work on the specific platform it's being posted on. So for the example of YouTube, it needs a killer title and thumbnail. That's imperative. It needs that. And it needs a good intro. If it's a clip over on Instagram, it shouldn't be the full-length podcast because people aren't willing to consume that. It should be optimized for the platform it's on and what people expect on that platform, plus what it's competing against on that platform. That's the really important thing, because you have to figure out what are your competition for the eyeballs on the platform that you're posting on. And so if other people are optimizing towards one platform, and then you're expecting people to watch your content that's just kind of thrown onto it with no thought behind what people want on each platform, you can't expect people to watch it or consume it. So you need to optimize your content for the maximum amount of results for each platform that you're posting on. And there's even a difference between what people will watch on TikTok or Instagram. That's the highest level of things. If you're just getting into this world, I don't recommend getting that crazy. That's the kind of stuff that we do within my agency. But at least at the point you're at right now, you need to put time and thought in terms of what are we posting where and what currently wins on those platforms. And are we doing things that could even potentially win based on what we're up against? Okay. So focus, if you're on YouTube, improving the overall concepts of your content, improving the titles and thumbnails, especially with YouTube. And now that there's also thumbnails on Spotify, what you have to understand is that YouTube, yes, it's a content platform, but really it's a packaging platform, because to get any data of people watching your post, they first have to click it. So really the click is the gas that makes the car go. You can have a Lambo, which is the perfect video, but if no one clicks it because there's no gas in it, it doesn't go anywhere. So you need to get the packaging right before you can get anything else right. And I think a lot of people are finally waking up to that. And that's why we're getting a lot of people working with us, because they see how important it really is to get that packaging right, to get anyone to click and to get YouTube to put you in the right places. So I see that becoming far more of a thing. And then the clips that you're making off of your long form episodes, both on YouTube and Instagram, people are going to be putting a lot more effort into this. For YouTube, they're going to be thinking about what is the purpose of this? How am I going to have a good theme for this specific clip? And how does it all make sense in the ecosystem that I'm trying to build within my content? I gave the example earlier, right? If you're not doing clips, make this your lesson to start doing clips, because of that whole example I just ran through. A lot of people, it's too much to ask for them to sit down with you for an hour or 3 hours, but it's way lower risk for them to watch a far more targeted clip that's say 6 minutes to 8 minutes or less around a specific subject that they know they're willing to watch. That's how you can get them in. That's the key here, right? Is that you need to have the content to then get them in your world. So then there's more touch points for YouTube and the other social platforms to really start feeding them your content more regularly. If you're only posting long form content, you're only getting access to the people that would be willing to sit down for 3 hours with someone they've never met before. That is an incredibly small group of people. And it's what most podcasters that I see, they're doing. A lot of the podcasters that reach out to me or try to work with my agency, that's all they're doing. And they're wondering why they're not getting results. You have to be realistic with what you're asking if you want to get what you want in return, right? So you have to think about the value exchange that's taking place, and way too few podcasters are. So it's going to be, people are finally getting on the video train, finally, and then they're seeing that you get disproportionate wins if you do video right. And the wins are, it's difficult to describe how different wins can be for the people that are doing this right. And a great example is to go look at the Diary of a CEO. All the effort that they're doing means that they win so disproportionately compared to other podcasts because they're optimizing everything. And they're spending so much time. They're the extreme example. I wouldn't even say to use them as a benchmark, but use them as a thought process of how they approach making decisions with their content. So that's really huge. I think also the other thing that's going to drive a ton of growth is, we talked about already within this section, platform optimized content is going to deliver disproportionate results. That's also because it's never been easier to repurpose content poorly. With all these different AI tools, it's super easy to cut basic clips and spam them out there, which is what 90% plus of podcasters that are doing this stuff That's all they're doing. They're using some sort of repurposing tool or some sort of AI tool that just cuts up their long form content without much thought or strategy or optimization and just posts it out there. And so with everyone doing that, the people that spend the time to actually do the thing correctly, to actually have it edited and thoughtful about the story they're telling with each clip, they're going to win so much more, because when the attention can only go to one place or the other, everyone's going to pick the optimized video over the spammed out garbage that they've become numb to. Whenever I see a clip that I know was generated by AI, I skip right past it, because you can tell right away the feel for it. It doesn't have the same sort of delivery. It's not optimized for the platform. You can tell it was done really quickly. And a lot of podcasters are being sold on these tools, and they're not getting the results that they want, because it just doesn't make sense. You can't expect people to watch this kind of content when there is stuff that's way better just from less people. So you want to put yourself into that minority of people. It's going to be a lot more time, a lot more effort, or a lot more money invested to do this. But the alternative is no results. A lot of people are spamming out content and getting almost no results, and they're wondering why. It's because everything in this age of AI, affordable AI, is just blending together to nothingness. It has no feel. There's no brand to it. They're just simply spamming things out there and hoping something sticks. That's not a strategy. And that's not going to bring the majority of people results unless the topic of conversations are incredibly interesting. And then eventually you'll get one or two to hit. But for sustained success, you need to be a lot more optimized and deliberate with your content and be far less spammy. Most of these repurposing tools, that's the first word I would use to describe them, is they're incredibly spammy. They have no feel behind the content. Like, you can use something like, what's the one that a lot of people use? Is it called Opus Clips? Let me go take a look. Opus Clips. And it's not to shit on any of these tools, but you got to think about what it's providing, right? An AI can't do the same thing in terms of cutting specific little moments. They're all getting better. Don't get me wrong. They're getting better, but they just can't compete still to what a tailored editor could do or what you could do. And at the very least, if you're going to use these tools like Opus Clips, make sure to check that there's not some like very low hanging fruit that could make a world of a difference. Sometimes they put things in there that ruin a clip that could have been great because of just the AI not being a human, right? So if you're going to use those tools, I'm not against them, but at least make sure to put the time in to safeguard from lost opportunities, because there's oftentimes that when a human watches these, there's some glaringly obvious changes that need to be made to the video. That can be the difference between success and failure. On social, for all content, as a podcaster, you need to understand this. I grew up in the social media content space, so I'm familiar with all this stuff. But a lot of podcasters, they're fairly new to this world of content. All these social media platforms they're just data machines. So they're looking for little differences in feedback from users to dictate who gets shown what. And that's why some videos go super viral and most videos get no views. It's because of these little data points. And it just comes down to understanding how these social media platforms make money. They make money the more time that you spend on the platform or users spend on the platform. So if they're even 1% more confident that video A is going to keep people on than video B, they're going to show everyone video A for the most part. And so that's why you see such crazy disproportionate results for people on YouTube or any social platform. And the more podcasters that become aware of this and invest the time into it, they're going to run away. They're going to sprint past their competition, and they're going to be making so much more money, bringing in so many more listeners every single week, because they see the value and the importance and really the necessity of doing this if you want a really successful show. So that's 1 and 2. First, video is here in a big way. Everyone's going to have to jump on board. 2, the ones that want to win really big will spend the time and invest into platform optimized content. And then the third major driver for growth is going to be people who have creative show formats or backdrops. So this backdrop is pretty boring. It's not very recognizable. It's a room, right? There's nothing much to this. But with Spotify now pushing episodes of podcasts and episode clips, people are now going to be shown your backdrop and you as their first impression of the show. So the more recognizable and unique that it is, the stronger that initial impression can be, which is going to help you out so much. Because if people know that they've seen something before and they had a good experience with it, they're going to be trained to catch that because it stands out so much. So you're going to see a lot of people get very creative with the backdrops that they're filming in, the scenes that they're filming in, and then also the formats of their shows, because that's what's going to drive crazy results with Spotify's changes. If you can get people to recognize you and your show very quickly, not only will that help you grow your show on Spotify, which is potentially game changing, it also has a trickle over effect to everything you post on every other platform. Because if someone comes and watches your podcast because Spotify pushed it in front of their face, the backdrop caught their attention, and then they listened to the content and enjoyed it, every future clip that they see of yours on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, they're now way more likely to click. So it all helps you win so much more if you think about how you can maximize the opportunity that Spotify is now giving to you. So what can you do to change the format of your show and make it more creative, more interesting, or change the physical backdrop in which you're shooting in to catch people's attention that have never seen you before and at least give you the opportunity for your content to connect with them? That's going to be a massive trend. I'm calling that right now. There are going to be some people who will blow up simply because they were filming in an incredibly unique place. It doesn't need to be expensive, but it should be unique and eye-catching. You're going to see more and more different show formats win and win in a big, big way. So that's the three biggest ways that podcasters that win disproportionately this year, that's how they'll be doing it. If you want to learn more about each of these things, let me know in the comments and I'll make more specific episodes on each if you want me to dive deeper into any of them. And since you are a podcaster and you're still here, be sure to sign up for our free podcasters newsletter where we teach you how to grow and monetize your show more effectively. That is linked down below. And if you're brand new to podcasting, be sure to download our podcasting gear and software cheat sheet, also linked down below. I am Ben. This has been the Podcast Playbook. I will see you next time, podcasters.